Hey everybody, I'm JimClassic and you are watching Geekin. So this is kind of a part 2, or maybe even a follow-up to my She-Ra video last week. And this is more along the lines of growing up with girl power in the 80s and 90s. I was on Twitter a while back, as I tend to be. Twitter is a normal part of just about everyone's lives these days. And I stumbled upon this tweet, and I clicked on the screen cap, and I read. And it kind of, got my brain to percolate a little bit. And what this person was talking about kind of inspired this video. And now I'm not going to show you the Twitter user's name. I'm just going to read off what the screen cap, what they posted on the screen cap. I've decided not to engage with this person. I'm not going to start a conversation with this person. I have a tendency to rub people the wrong way on Twitter, usually when I don't mean to. I tend to have strong opinions. I tend to come off as a little abrasive without realizing it, and I just decided I am not going to chime in on this situation, even if I have the best of intentions. It's Twitter. It's Twitter, and I know it's going to be misinterpreted into something else. But let me just cue up what I read here, and excuse me. This is my close-up reading. Okay, so here we go. Hashtag Ghostbusters. There just aren't words, but I'm gonna try. When I was a little girl, I was babysat by the mom of 4 boys. It was the 80s. So we played Ghostbusters and Ninja Turtles and the like. But as the only girl, I never got to be a Ghostbuster or a Ninja Turtle. I was a secretary or assistant at best. But more often than not, I was the damsel in distress. Today, as I sat watching 4 incredible, smart, funny, capable women kicking ghost booty and taking names, I found myself welling up. It took me so many years to learn that I could be the hero in my own story. Now, I have hope that girls of today will realize that they can be the hero in any story. Okay. Lovely words. Lovely words. Really. That is not hyperbole. Inspirational, I guess. But really, she said growing up in the 80s, being the secretary or the damsel in distress, that's not the 80s. You grew up in the 50s or maybe the 40s. You did not grow up in the 80s, okay? And you cannot say that you grew up in the 80s and say you were just the secretary or you were just the damsel in distress. I'm sorry. I really do kind of have to call horse shit on that. Granted, the 80s were kind of an ancient and barbaric time, full of, neon and synth music and wild hair and shit. But it was way more progressive than this person kind of let on. When I was a young boy, growing up in the 80s, I was exposed to plenty of girl power. Learning at a young age that the girls were just as capable of doing the same thing as the boys were. Sure, I did grow up hero-worshipping Optimus Prime, He-Man, Captain Jean-Luc Picard, and yes, even the Ghostbusters. But in each of these shows, they had their fair share of supporting roles, and some of them were the iconic women that had their strengths and had their great moments in these cartoons and in these movies, and in these television series. Let's just run right out of the gate here with some of the big guns. Princess Leia Organa, okay? Alright, she was a strong leader. I will always remember how in A New Hope she takes the blaster from Han's hands. I said it right the first time. From Han's hands, alright, blasts open the grate in the cell block, throws it back at him, is like, get in the garbage chute, flyboy, and just dives right in. Princess Leia was not only a capable leader, she was not afraid to get her hands dirty with the rest of the boys. Okay? I mean, that she is a paramount of female empowerment is Princess Leia. Yeah, okay, she did start off as a damsel in distress, and at some case, in some situations, yes, she even saves Han, she saves Luke. She does save the characters as much as the characters save her. Okay, that is perfect example of equality right there. Okay, let's all right. Teela was captain of the guards of the Eternian Palace, frequently aided He-Man in saving Eternia from the evil forces of Skeletor. Yes, occasionally Teela did need her rescuing, but in the same token, Teela was also instrumental in saving He-Man's hide a couple of times as well. I mean, she was a capable warrior. She was serious at her job. She was not some ditzy secretary or anything like that. I would say Teela would be a fine example of female empowerment. Teela, again, captain of the guards. She was one of the top dogs in the Eternian command structure or whatever. She was just a few hairs, a few ranks just short of working directly under the king and the queen. RC was an Autobot introduced in the 1986 Transformers movie. Now, she was not the first female Autobot, but she's probably one of the most famous female Autobots. And, even though she did play more of a supporting role, she did show up in many engagements, many battles, and she did help save the day, but, she was an okay character, maybe a little bit bland. However, there were other female Autobots. They were featured in a 2-part episode, I believe in Season 2 of the original Transformers. And those female Autobots were just as capable as the Autobots who they fought side by side with. I mean, we have Firestar, Chromia, Moonracer, and their leader, Alita 1. They were only featured, like I said, in just a few episodes. And they were able to take on Shockwave, okay? Not too many could take it. Alright, well, maybe in the cartoon show, everyone takes on Shockwave. But the fact is that the female Autobots could kick just as much ass. Carly, in the Transformers, the Generation 1 Transformers series, Carly was Spike's girlfriend. Now, she was not in as many episodes as Spike and Sparkplug were, our two human characters. But she was in it enough, and quite frankly, she wasn't in it enough. But when she was in it, I wanted more Carly. I found Carly a more interesting character than Spike and Sparkplug. I mean, not only is she a student at MIT, she's supposed to be brilliant. I mean, on a couple of occasions, she's helped fix the Autobots when they were damaged. I mean, Carly was a smart chick, and way more intelligent than working class Spike. And not that I'm trying to knock people in the working class. I'm part of the working class, but I'm just saying I found Carly to be a more interesting character because she not only was she a woman, she was brilliant. I mean, she was a brilliant, intelligent character. Janine Melnitz from the real Ghostbusters. She picked up a proton pack at least on 2 occasions. Granted, I would have liked to have seen more, but on those 2 occasions, she saved the day. One of those occasions, she even took on a demigod just as powerful as Vigo the Carpathian. Okay? I'm sorry, but that takes some bearings of chrome steel right there. All right, she saved the day. She saved the Ghostbusters on that occasion. Probably even the whole world in that episode. Some people have even conveniently forgotten Ellen Ripley from the Alien series. All right, I've never really seen Alien 3, but I have seen Alien 1 and 2, and Ellen Ripley is kind of a badass. I mean, if she is not inspiration for young girls to, at least be a fighter or to survive in a threatening or hostile situation, I don't know what else could be inspiration for you. I mean, Ellen Ripley's character goes through such traumatic situations and such horrible things happen to her, and well, with the exception of Alien 3, she pretty much comes out on top. She gets on by, she lives another day. I mean, she's a tough as nails chick. Come on, let's not kid ourselves here. Of course, we also cannot forget She-Ra, the Princess of Power, the twin sister of He-Man, and the keeper of the secrets of Castle Grayskull. She-Ra was, well, I kind of covered about what I wanted to say about She-Ra in the last video, but she was a capable warrior. She fought Hordak on a number of occasions. She saved the day lots of times. She was the leader of a rebellion on the planet Etheria. I mean, she wasn't some dumb blonde. She wasn't some helpless victim, The Princess of Power, it kind of says it all. Another great example of female empowerment within my lifetime would be Captain Catherine Janeway of the USS Voyager in Star Trek Voyager. I mean, for 7 seasons, we saw her, get the ship and crew of the Voyager from the Delta Quadrant all the way back to the Alpha Quadrant. I mean, she's a good Starfleet captain. I mean, she's right up there. She's probably my second favorite next to Picard. I mean, come on, who forgets Captain Catherine Janeway? Who is forgetting? Oh, the best I could be as a secretary or damsel in distress. What? Come on, Buffy, the Vampire Slayer. That is probably one of my favorite TV shows ever. I mean, not only is Buffy a capable, vampire killer, she's, first off, she has Herculean strength. She has, she learned how to fight monsters and demons and vampires and all sorts of just crazy shit. She had a strong supporting cast of men and women. I mean, Willow became a powerful witch. There was, oh, Shiza. I don't remember Willow's girlfriend's name. I'm drawing a blank. But then again, I also don't remember Seth Green's character either. But we did have some strong female characters in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I mean, granted, that was the late 90s, early 2000s. We are, any one of us who grew up in the 80s and 90s, that is our early adulthood. I guess early adulthood, late teens, early adult, around that time. But these are fine examples of strong female characters. I mean, I can understand it if some of these women didn't watch these cartoon shows. Maybe they did watch Strawberry Shortcake or Rainbow Bright, but I mean, not that I really watched them. I mean, I probably did a little bit as a kid, but I don't remember that much about them. But I mean, maybe they were not great examples of female empowerment. I can't comment on any of that, but it was there, Even in the early 2000s, I enjoyed Kim Possible. And that was a fun cartoon, I'm not going to lie. And I even believe in the tagline of the cartoon, I mean, it was, she can do anything. And, I mean, that just says it all. I mean, that was just a fun, silly cartoon, but, I mean, Kim Possible was more than a capable character. And you could argue strong female role model, all that jazz. I miss that cartoon show, I really do. Girl power is something I grew up around. I understood it. I respected it. And I suppose my greatest confusion about, part of this is, why are there so many women today who are acting like girl power is some brand new revolutionary thing which wasn't around for very long? I mean, is it because they didn't watch these same cartoon shows that I did? Yeah, I suppose. But I can't imagine that they didn't watch all of them. Like, maybe one or two of them, sure, I could see that, but I don't know. I really don't know. But all I can say is that it was something I grew up around. It was there. There was a presence. I mean, these, maybe, growing up, I did have a unique vantage point. I absorbed this stuff as a kid. I mean, my favorite cartoons, favorite movies, sci-fi stuff, this is stuff that I live and breathe. And, learning that the girls were just as good as the boys was normal, was just a normal part, a normal element to a lot of these shows that I loved, that I still love. And, a lot of that understanding is stuff that I have brought with me into adulthood. Well, I don't know what else I can say. Girl power has always been there. There's always been a presence if you've paid even the slightest bit of attention to it. Now, you could make the argument that back in the 80s and 90s, it wasn't everywhere like it is today. Sure, you could probably make that argument that there wasn't as much of it, but in my opinion, what girl power in the 80s and 90s lacked in quantity, I think they sure as hell made up for in quality. I'm JimClassic, and you've been watching Geekin' It.